Debiat. I'm here with Riley Chow and Matt Noble to talk about the Golden Globes this year. It's been a while since we've gotten together to talk about the Golden Globes, and we thought we would do a bit of a roundup and talk about the big question marks that we are asking ourselves as we finalise our predictions for what the Hollywood foreign press are going to present to us this year. I'm going to go straight to you first, Matt, because I am really puzzled about the drama series category this year, given that Westworld is out, it's not eligible this year, and The Crown won last year and hasn't yet premiered on Netflix. So to me, that's a big question mark. What do you think the big story is going to be in the drama series category this year at the Golden Globes?
Yes, it's interesting because usually with the Golden Globes, you go with the new buzzy shows. They like to throw it to shows in their first year, throw a lot of them. However, this season, you've got a lot of shows in their sort of second year that are really buzzy still. Like your Stranger Things, your Crown, your This Is Us. This Is Us is in its second season too. Yeah. And Game of Thrones has huge buzz in a much later season. So it's looking like you've got a lot of returning shows that might come back. And then you got The Handmaid's Tale, which is a new show for the Globes. However, it just won the Emmy for Best Drama Series, which may make it seem like less of a new show. It's not like they can sort of plant their flag for The Handmaid's Tale and say, we found this new show, because it just was the talk of the town at the Emmys a couple of months ago. So I think it's going to be an interesting one. My sort of like sleeper pick in this category to get a nomination is maybe American Gods.
Mm-hmm.
Could maybe.
I love Stars. Is that why? Because I just really love Stars.
Yeah, they love Stars. It's got some actors they've liked in the past in this show too, and just it's a new show which would be a random, like, boy, that came out of nowhere, which we often see at the Globes in these categories, a show or two like that pop in.
Wow, that's a really good point. You know, so Riley, will they go back to their planting a flag for the shiny new toy, or will they endorse the Emmys' love for The Handmaid's Tale? Which way do you think they'll go?
Well, I think the one that we're all sleeping on is Mindhunter. So that's on Netflix, and it's David Fincher, so it's prestigious, and like it is yet another serial killer show. But, you know, they keep coming out because there is an audience for them. And I feel like Mindhunter was well-reviewed, and it kind of ticks all the boxes. I think if not for The Handmaid's Tale, that would be winning series. I think it's going to win for Jonathan Groff as a consolation prize and get a couple supporting nominations. But yeah, I'm going to say The Handmaid's Tale wins because people are upset with Donald Trump.
Yeah. Well, it's a big factor, actually. Even though I was one of The Handmaid's cheerleaders, I loved it, and I was happy that it won a lot of Emmys. But it undoubtedly a reason was because of the Trump phenomenon, and I think that's still the case. You know, I think you're right. I think Handmaid's Tale is going to be the front runner. Mindhunter is a really good one that we should be looking out for, as is American Gods. I think you both have a very good point there, and that means that's 3 slots. I can't imagine The Crown not making it back in. I don't think it's going to be such old news that it won't even be nominated. That's 4 slots. And then we've got one more. Would it be Game of Thrones, which they don't really love as much as the Emmys do? Would it be something like The Good Doctor, which is a big ratings success on network television? Will they go back to Stranger Things and or This Is Us? Will they go for something like Ozark, which is a very big hit on Netflix as well, even though it doesn't really have the buzz that Mindhunter has? Or will it be something else, like, you know, they'll go back to the Outlander well? Or will it be something completely different, like Mr. Mercedes or Ray Donovan or 13 Reasons Why? Like, there's so many things on, so many drama series on TV at the moment. It's really hard to keep up. So I'm really puzzled about drama series. Have you guys got anything, any other things that we should be thinking about for drama series? What about you, Matt?
I would say of most of the shows you just mentioned, don't be surprised if they pop up. Like, they're really with the Globes. Last year, 2 years ago, you had Narcos and Outlander get nominated, which have really not been on the awards radar anywhere else in in Newsroom got a Best Drama Series nomination a couple years ago as well. Boss from Stars the year before. So it's just like the Globes will often have, or every now and then have, these shows that really aren't in the awards discussion anywhere else pop up here. So I think things like Ozark definitely could. Mindhunter, which Riley suggested, is I think that's got a really good chance of getting in as well. And the question is, how many of those sorts of shows get in? Like, will American Gods and Mindhunter get in? Will Ozark and Mindhunter get in? Will will American Gods and Ozark get in? Will just one of those sort of 3 or 4? And, you can throw in other shows as well. And because the more of those types of shows that we haven't really seen in awards contention anywhere else before get in, the more shows that we have seen in awards contention will miss out. Your Game of Thrones, your This Is Us, your So I think you'll probably see 1 or 2 of those shows pop in, which means, or one of those 2 sort of shows we haven't seen elsewhere pop in, which means we're going to lose The Crown and Game of Thrones or something like that. Right?
Yeah. I think we're in a bit of a different era. Like last year, Billy Bob Thornton, he won for Goliath. And I think going off of past Globe history, you would have expected Goliath to get in because it's a brand new show and because it's on kind of a strange network. Like it kind of reminded me of Boss. But I think right now we've got too many shows that are too zeitgeisty, too critically acclaimed, too popular with the general population, that maybe it's just a bit too crowded at the top. That it's very possible the Gold Derby has actually just nailed the top 5, which are The Handmaid's Tale, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things, This Is Us, and The Crown. And maybe there isn't room for a left field choice that the Globes like to throw in. I think one show that I'm not sure was mentioned was The Deuce. That's HBO that could get in. But like if Mindhunter or American Gods or The Deuce gets in, like which one are the Globes going to leave off? Like I have them leaving off Game of Thrones just because I feel like they've been kind of guilted into nominating Game of Thrones for the past few years, but this year it didn't win the Emmy because it wasn't eligible. So I think that gives them a bit of an out. Gold Derby has The Crown in 5th, actually, even though it won last year. I think that's kind of just because we haven't seen it. I feel like of all the new shows that came out last year, the one that we weren't really worried about having a sophomore slump was The Crown, whereas like Westworld, Stranger Things, This Is Us, they all seem like they could go one way or the other. But I'm wary of Stranger Things because I think that might also be another case like Game of Thrones where it's not really something that really appeals to the Globe voters, but they felt like they had to slot it in there.
That's a really good point. So I think there's like 2 schools of thought. There's either the one where the slate's going to get wiped clean and we're going to see a whole bunch of new stuff because they love their shiny new toys, or we're going to see a lot of repeat nominations just because they're so zeitgeisty. And we might just see one come in to replace Westworld because it's not eligible. And so, or it could be some bit of a mix between those 2 things, but I think it's going to be one or the other. And I'm going down the road of it being more like we're going to see something come in for Westworld, which is The Handmaid's Tale. Stranger Things will probably come back, as will This Is Us, and maybe Game of Thrones might also go, and then we'll see something really cool and interesting like Mindhunter or Ozark or something like, I don't know, something really left field like Star Trek Discovery. I don't know, something completely that no one sees coming, because that happens at the Globes all the time. I think what we should be actually focusing more on, even before we move off to the other genres, is in the acting categories. That's where we sometimes see some really cool and interesting things that you don't see anywhere else. The SAGs don't do it, and the Emmys don't do it as much as the Globes. And so we could see things like, or people like Noah Schnapp get his first nomination on his way to getting nominated next year at the Emmys. A lot of talk about his performance in Stranger Things. We're going to see a lot of Handmaid's Tale people. I think we're going to see maybe someone like, I don't know, Sonequa Martin Green from Star Trek, or someone from Mr. Mercedes, or maybe more people from This Is Us, Freddie Highmore from The Good Doctor. Lots of really interesting things. So I want to go back to you guys now on who you think will come in that will kind of shake things up a bit in the drama acting categories? Maybe you first, Riley.
I watched the slugfest that Chris, Paul, and Daniel did. And I thought it was really interesting what Chris was saying about Mr. Mercedes, because that's not a show that I had considered at all, because nobody watches it, and it's on the Audience Network. But it reminded me of last year when Epix was promoting Graves, and again, still nobody has watched that show, but apparently there's a big push for it. So I've slotted in Brendan Gleeson for Mr. Mercedes. I also have Ian McShane for American Gods, because I think that show is too weird to get a series nomination. But I think that they've shown they've liked Ian McShane, and it's a show I roll, so he can get in. Other than that, in the main actor category, I've got Jonathan Groff, Sterling K. Brown, and James Franco. It was a very weird situation last year where we didn't have any overlap between the series nominees and the actor category, because just barely any of them actually had a lead actor.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to see Freddie Highmore, because like in the last 12 years, there's only been one case of a new drama getting a lead actor in, which is James Bader for The Blacklist. The Good Doctor does have good ratings, but it doesn't have as good reviews as a lot of shows that have come strong out of the gate in recent years. Like last year, even Designated Survivor with Kiefer Sutherland, and he was snubbed. I also don't think that Ozark is going to be any sort of a factor, because I don't think that the reviews are there. I don't think that people care about it as much. I think it does have people that the Globes care about, Jason Bateman and Laura Linney, but I think it's pretty much this year's Billions, where that had Paul Giamatti, Damian Lewis, who the Globes also really like, and also a network that they like, but just nobody really cared about the show. It's peak TV. There's no time for
that. Matt, what do you think?
Well, I don't know, Riley. Like, we've seen some pretty interesting nominees. I'm not sure how well, in peak TV, how they found room for Billy Bob Thornton from Goliath, who won last year.
Yeah.
I feel I think we're going to see a lot of new names here. I feel like Jason Bateman's got a great chance for Ozark. I think James Franco is probably getting in for The Juice. I think Ian McShane, American Gods, Freddie Highmore, The Good Doctor. This is where a lot of these new shows I think we're definitely going to see come in here. I mean, just said Milo can get in for This Is Us. I think there's a chance. Jonathan Groff for Mindhunter also, I think there's a good chance of getting in. So I don't know. I just think it's going to be 5 actors that they respect in new stuff.
Yeah. It's very exciting, isn't it? That's what I look forward to the most with the Globes, just all the really interesting left field choices. There's 90-something people who vote at the HFPA, and they have really good taste in TV most of the time. We know from looking at past experience that they nominate something from almost every single network or every outlet, so that everyone will come to the party. They do that a lot. And that's probably their downfall. The cynics in the crowd will be saying, well, they're just doing that because it's very self-serving. But I think they like to spread the wealth, not just for that reason, but because there is so much good TV out there that at least they are trying to recognize as much as they can. And that's, I think, something to admire.